Story 1. Midnight Intruder. It was New Year's Eve, the last night of the year, and I decided to stay home alone. Everyone I knew had plans, fireworks, parties, friends, family celebrations. But I wanted quiet, a night to myself before the chaos of the new year began. My apartment was small, familiar, and I liked the comfort of its silence. I had some music playing softly, a half-empty bottle of sparkling cider on the counter, and the faint glow of city lights spilling through the window. Around midnight, the fireworks outside started, bright bursts against the sky, distant sounds vibrating through my apartment. I watched for a few minutes, letting the explosions mix with the hum of my heater, feeling both comforted and oddly isolated. That's when I noticed it. A shadow moving in the corner of my living room. At first, I tried to convince myself it was the reflection of the fireworks or a trick of the lights. But the shadow moved deliberately, slowly, against the grain of the illumination. My chest tightened. Every rational thought battled with panic. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm imagining things. Yet the unease wouldn't go away. Then I heard it. A soft, deliberate click, the sound of a door. My apartment only has two entrances, the main door and the balcony sliding door, both always locked. I froze. I didn't call anyone. Panic can be loud. I didn't want to alert whoever it was. Instead, I crept toward the living room, sticking to the shadows, every step careful. My apartment is small, but every sound echoes. I strained my ears to hear even the faintest movement. The figure was near the balcony now, mostly hidden behind the curtain. I couldn't make out details, just a vague human shape, deliberate and slow in movement. My heart raced. Should I confront it? Should I hide? Fear paralyzed me. I grabbed my phone, keeping it silent. I considered calling the police, but hesitated. I didn't want to reveal my presence yet. Then the figure moved again, stepping slightly into view. I noticed the sliding door lock, slightly off. Not forced, not broken, just tampered with. That's when reality hit me. Someone had been inside my apartment while I watched the New Year fireworks, completely unnoticed. I froze, barely breathing. Every possible outcome ran through my mind, all terrifying. The figure didn't take anything, didn't speak, didn't move aggressively. It just lingered, watching, waiting. I realized how vulnerable I had been, how thin the line between normalcy and danger can be. The sudden boom of a firework startled both of us, and the figure disappeared into the shadows. I never saw them leave, and the police later found no evidence, no fingerprints, no footprints, nothing. The sliding door latch, however, had definitely been tampered with. That detail alone haunted me. I spent the rest of the night on the phone with a friend, lights on, doors double-checked, hyper-aware of every creak, every whisper of wind. Sleep didn't come. The thought that someone had been so close, unnoticed, was almost unbearable. Since that night, I have a ritual. I check the balcony, the front door, even the small windows. I double-lock everything, sometimes triple-locking. My sense of safety has been permanently altered. What terrified me most wasn't a ghost or an intruder who broke in. It was the realization that danger can exist silently, almost invisibly, within your everyday spaces. The night was ordinary, the apartment familiar, yet it became one of the scariest experiences of my life. The quiet, once comforting, now feels threatening. Every shadow can hold potential movement. Every small sound, a tap, a creak, the rustle of fabric, triggers alertness. And I know that someone, somewhere, could still be watching, waiting, without ever needing to reveal themselves. Even after the new year had officially begun, the memory lingered. I kept thinking about the juxtaposition, fireworks, celebration, joy, and me alone, heart racing, hyper-aware of the possibility that someone had been inside, unseen. That contrast, the normalcy of the holiday against the intrusion, made it feel even more surreal. Story 2. Fire Escape. Whisper. A few nights after New Year's Eve, I went to visit a friend who lived in a downtown apartment building. The city was quieter than usual. Most people had gone home to parties, family dinners, or vacations. It was close to 1 a.m., the kind of hour when the streets feel empty and the city's usual hum fades to distant echoes. We were talking casually in his apartment, planning to have a late-night snack. The walls were thin, the floor creaked with even the slightest movement. My friend suddenly paused mid-sentence. "I've been hearing something weird outside my window," he said. He gestured toward the fire escape, a narrow metal structure attached to the side of the building. Footsteps, whispers. I always thought it was kids playing, or maybe the wind. I laughed nervously, trying to brush it off. But he wasn't joking. The city, in its usual chaos, can mask almost anything. Now, in the quiet of the early hours, every small sound seemed amplified. Minutes passed, and then we heard it. Faint footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from the fire escape just outside his living room window. Not hurried, not random, measured, pacing. The metal rattled slightly under each step. We froze, listening. Then came the whispers. Low, soft, almost impossible to understand, as if someone was speaking just at the edge of audibility. They weren't words we could make sense of, just sounds, too deliberate to be the wind, too soft to be normal city noise. We cautiously approached the window. The fire escape was narrow, dimly lit by a distant streetlight. I strained to see anything, but there was nothing. Only the shadows of the railing swaying slightly. The footsteps and whispers continued intermittently, stopping and starting without any discernible pattern. My friend confessed that he had locked the window hours before. That made the sound even more unnerving. Someone was moving on a fire escape, pacing, whispering, but they hadn't entered. The realization hit. Whoever it was, they could have been close enough to hear us, close enough to see us, and yet completely unseen. We debated whether to leave. The city streets at that hour were empty, the sidewalks cold and echoing. The thought of venturing outside felt almost as threatening as staying inside. So we stayed, hearts racing, every nerve alert. Each faint step or whispered sound made us flinch. Time stretched unnaturally. The sounds ebbed and flowed, sometimes stopping entirely, only to return seconds later. My friend's breathing became shallow. I felt it too. The creeping anxiety of realizing how exposed you can be in a place that's supposed to be safe. The fire escape, meant as an emergency exit, had become a source of dread. Around 2 a.m., everything suddenly stopped. Silence fell so sharply that it almost hurt our ears. No footsteps, no whispers, no rattling metal. We looked at each other, unsure whether to feel relief or continued fear. The fire escape appeared empty, but the absence of movement did not erase the terror. We spent the rest of the night awake, checking the windows repeatedly, double-locking doors, listening intently for any unusual sound. Sleep was impossible. The tension lingered long after, like a shadow refusing to leave. What made this night so terrifying wasn't a visible threat, a face, or even a forced entry. It was the realization that someone could be close, hidden, moving silently, and that you might never know their intent. The proximity, so near yet invisible, creates a fear that's personal, persistent, and almost impossible to shake. In the days that followed, my friend altered his routines. Windows remained locked, curtains drawn tightly, doors checked multiple times. Even routine actions, like leaving the apartment or looking outside, carried a quiet anxiety. That night had changed the way he perceived his own home, and it changed the way I perceive safety as well. Even weeks later, whenever fireworks or celebrations occur at night, my mind flashes back to those quiet hours on the fire escape. The juxtaposition of the holiday, the normality, and the silent presence outside created a lingering unease. Joy and danger, celebration and threat, all mixed together in one night. It was another terrifying night in the new year, a reminder that fear doesn't always come with a visible face. Sometimes it's in the subtle movements, the whispers, the faint creak of metal, the unnoticed shadow that lingers just beyond sight. The tension, the uncertainty, is the real horror. A silent, invisible threat that can exist in the most ordinary of places. These 2 nights, the one in my apartment, the one on my friend's fire escape, became intertwined in my mind. Both ordinary, both in the context of the new year, both showing that danger can lurk quietly in familiar spaces. Both nights taught the same lesson. The world is unpredictable and safety is never guaranteed, even when everything seems normal.